going on, family? I've got something on my mind. It's one of those days that I've got to vent, and I hope you can bear with me for a moment, because I'm not just venting without being factual. I've got to vent because it really needs to be said. I'm just thinking about the state of poor people, blacks, whites, and Latinos, etc., Native Americans, but specifically black people in America, and how we are such in a sad state of affairs, if you will. We look at our entertainers, we look at rappers that's flossing, that's taking pictures in front of Bentleys and Phantoms and Aston Martins, and we think that we've made it. We look at our entertainers and our sport figures making 7 figures, 8 figures, and we think that we've made it. You know, Donald Trump said something interesting. I don't subscribe to Donald Trump at all, period. Let that be known. But he said something, and it's floating around social media, and he said it in such a way to be very demeaning and degrading, yet he wanted us to vote for him. And he went on this rant concerning all black people. You have no money, you're poor, you're in poverty, your schools are no good, subpar education, crime ridden, and so, you know, what do you all have to lose? In other words, vote for him. And black people, they heard that and they just went in on Donald Trump. Now, I can understand why they were going from the simple fact that he was being very smug, being very sarcastic, and being very demeaning. And his motive was impure. However, what the man said was true. Yet it was this country that got us in this way, in this condition in the first place. However, we have a responsibility to get out. This is the purpose of this scope. This is the purpose of this particular video. Our responsibility. We're waiting on America to do for us which we refuse to do for ourselves. We are waiting for legislations and policies and politicians to get us out of this hell of a condition that we're in, and it's not going to happen until we make it happen. In Scripture, in the Bible, there's a story of the Good Samaritan, how an individual was robbed as we were robbed as black people. He was hit in the head and wounded. We're suffering from wounds mentally, emotionally, physically, and certainly spiritually. And he was thrown into a ditch, left for dead. The Levite came by, looked on him, looked at his condition, agreed within himself that it was bad, but he kept moving. The priest came by, saw him in that condition, shook his head, and he kept it moving. Maybe going to another conference or seminar, maybe going to another foot washing service, or maybe even going to work, wherever. But the Good Samaritan came by, and I'm so grateful for the Good Samaritan. The Good Samaritan came by, saw him in that condition, threw him on his beast. In 2016, we would say put him in his car, in his whip, and took him to an inn, took him to the hospital, and says that if there be any charge, you charge it to me on my return, but you take care of this man. Now, what was the Levite? The Levite was the one to bear the very presence of God on his shoulder in the Ark of the Covenant. That specifies church leadership. The priests, who are the priests? The priests are you and I, intercessors. We're the ones to take people before God because they don't have access to God because they're not saved. They don't have a relationship with Jesus. But in this day and time, God is using the Good Samaritan. He does not bear the title of a Levite, but he carries the presence of God in his inner man or her inner man. He's using the Good Samaritan as a priest. Doesn't have the title as being a Christian or a believer, quote unquote. But he has a relationship with God and deep intercession and compassion for those who are the downtrodden, those who are the homeless, those who are broke, busted, and disgusted, those who are addicts, those who are formerly incarcerated, those who are incarcerated, those strippers on the poles, and those Johns that are hanging out at strip clubs, drug dealers, to see them in that condition and to bring them to the Christ, that they can be holistically healed, healed in their spirit, healed in their minds, healed in their damaged emotions, and healed financially. This is the new church that is developing, and it is marvelous in God's eyes. Thank you for your time. But we have got to get ourselves together within and unite and come to God and help one another and stop all this foolishness of backbiting, killing one another, slaying one another, trying to outdo one another, outpreach one another, all that garbage, because we've got work to do, because people are dying while we're acting a fool. But when we make up in our minds to become the Good Samaritan, God will use us for such a time as this. Peace and blessings. Love you to life.